Hey, how's it going? Today's video is going to be a complete take apart of this Japanese made True Temper 337 Blue Heron spincast reel. You can see it has a nice little emblem here of a blue heron. This reel is probably from the early 70s. It's a pretty rare reel. There's not many of these around. I've only ever seen a couple of those for sale. And it would be one of my favorites, except that it's a pretty large reel and it's quite heavy and has a huge spool, holds a lot of line, and it's probably good for like 10, 14, 16 pound test. And I'm really not into that kind of fishing. I like smaller reels a lot better, but I have used it and it's a really nice reel, and they don't make these kind of reels anymore, just top quality. So let's take it apart. So I got no schematic for this reel or anything, no parts diagram, so sort of taking a shot in the dark. So first thing I'm going to do is take the front cover off, and here's your line stopper, and it's still in great shape. There's no dry rotting or anything. Really big pickup pin here. So I just tighten the drag, hold the handle, and twist this off. That's your spinner cap. There's your mechanism for your pickup pin. Looks really good. Nice and clean. Set that aside. Now the spool just comes off. There's an arrow on and off, so clockwise, quarter part turn. And that slides out. And you got your two little nubs here that fit in there. And that's for your oscillation mechanism. There's a plate there. So that's working well. So next thing, let's take this side cover off. And like I said, this one has one ball bearing, I believe. It's got really nice, the way the lettering is raised in the aluminum, so it's nice. So two screws here to take out. This should be a longer one because it's going through the handle. So this should be a shorter one on the bottom. That one out, and you take your side cover off and your push button. There, so you can insert a metal insert in there. I set that aside. So it's a lot like, this is very similar to an Abimatic 170 or 150, the way that crosswind block sits on this plate. So just looking at this, you got a screw here and a screw here, but you can't get at this screw right now. So let's look at the front. So there's two screws here, one there and one there. That should take this whole plate off. This one. These look like they're going to be a pain to get back in. There's not enough room to get your fingers in there. Okay, so that's these two. Now, I guess, oh, this whole thing comes out, okay. So you got a screw here and a screw here to take this off, but there's not really any need to, so we'll leave that on and see how this comes out. This pinion gear. Not sure if that pinion gear is going to come out or not without taking that blade off. I don't think it will. So let's take that off. And two small screws. I'm using a micro flathead screwdriver, by the way. Just set that aside with the 2 screws. Okay. So here's your pinion gear. And see if this bearing can come out. Okay, that's interesting. Here's your bearing right here. That's a ball bearing. And it's inside of this nylon sleeve, which is pretty interesting. And I think that's all one piece. So I'm just going to lay that back in here. So that's interesting for sure. And now go back to the main body. That has a huge main gear in it. And looks like some drag washers in there. I can see the eared ones. There's your crosswind stud. There's your anti-reverse. So let's turn the anti-reverse off. And if you're not comfortable taking it apart from here, you can always just spray it with WD-40 so it moves freely and drop some oil in there. So we're going to move to the outside of the handle, and I got a 10mm socket. You can use a wrench or vice grips or pliers. And I'm going to loosen the drag first. Just take this nut off. Take the handle off. I'm just going to put my thumb over this gear so none of this stuff flies out. So we back off the star drag. And we'll push this through, this in. So there's a washer right there. So that goes on there. And your anti-reverse gear. I don't know if that's pressed in there permanently. I can't get it to push out. And there's a couple of slots there. Maybe there's a special tool needed for that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't think that's coming out. So we'll just leave that in place for now. Maybe when the reel was new, it came with a tool to get that out. So let's take this off. So there's your main gear. It's a really large gear. There's a shim there. And in here you got the metal washer. Your first drag washer. You got an eared washer. And 2 more. So we just push those back the way they came on. And I'm not going to do any cleaning today, but you can take these off and clean them all and just reassemble them in the same order. So remember, this one goes on here. There's a shim right there, a little brass shim. Put that in. And there's 2 little slots here for that eared washer to fit in. So we just push that back in place. Actually, made a mistake there. That washer comes off. Push that back in. That goes right here. was going to do complete like cleaning and lubrication, but I figured it would take way too long. I didn't want to make a super long video. So I'm going to tighten that up. Handle. This cap nut back on. Tighten that up. Moves freely. Anti-reverse is working. So let's just move back to here. So your main gear goes in, your pinion gear I should say. This piece right here. A lot of these older reels, they're hard. It's really hard to find a schematic for them, so you don't have much to go by if you can't figure it out. I recommend, like, I'm taking a video, so that helps, or take some pictures in some important areas that you're not sure about. And sometimes when you buy these reels, they might not be assembled correct either. Someone might have messed with it before, but hopefully that's not the case. Most people wouldn't. Most people never service or take apart the reels at all. You might just take the cover off and put a bit of oil in there, and that's about it. Okay, so that can go back in place. All you gotta do is set that crosswind stud on that opening there and line it up. And now we got 2 screws to go in here. And that's going to be pretty easy to get, pretty hard to get your fingers in there. So I'm just going to use some pliers to grab the screw and get it in place. Try to hold it there somewhat. Grab the other one. If you're into spincast, especially older spincast reels like I am, this is definitely one to get. Because it's, like I said, there's not very few out there, and it's really, really well made. And this would last for years and years and years. And has some nice features too, like it has a ball bearing and has an oscillating spool and a really nice beefy pickup pin and whatnot. So we just lay that spool in there, turn it, so that's working right now like it should. And all we got left is to position that push button. Just side cover on in place. The long one goes in the top, short one right here. Yeah, this kind of quality you just don't see today. It's a handful of really good reels out there, but most spincast reels are pretty much disposable nowadays. Pretty low quality. There are some, like I said, there are a lot of good ones, but there's way more bad ones than good ones. Just snug these down. And it's going to tighten that drag a bit. Hold the handle. Twist that spinner cap back on. So everything's working good. Push button, pin goes in, pin comes out. put the front cover back on, and that's it. So that's a lot simpler than I thought it would be. So again, this is a really nice reel, and one I'd highly recommend if you can find one. They're pretty rare though. So anyway, that's it for the video. Please, if you find this stuff interesting, please subscribe. When I started, I was trying to get to 500 subscribers, and I'm at just over 400 now. So I'd really love to get to 500. So I mean, I really appreciate it if you subscribe. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.